whenever I'm feeling down, which strangely enough has been a couple of times this year. So
Shocking.
who knew? Oh, we're on. We're just
Hi.
talking. Hi.
Okay.
I'm Karen.
Hi, I'm
Nice to see
Stacy.
you. Um, this is Dick Sinson was here. A little talk about Schitt's Creek. So hopefully everyone's down with Schitt's Creek. It's gonna be great. So let's talk first fashion because we walked in. I turned on my camera and Stacy looks amazing, and I'm like in a shirt that literally says butts. So I was like, I think I need to
I mean,
change really
Tina
fast.
Belcher is amazing.
Yes, Tina Belcher is goals, honestly. Like, if I were a 12-year-old, Tina Belcher would be basically where I was going. So, another show for another time,
Well, I got this
though. um,
weird top from a costume designer who was giving things away in my neighborhood at one point. And it's like this it's like, or she did it for a photo shoot, something. Anyway, I decided after I spilled food on my shirt that I was eating before coming here is that I had to channel like Moira Rose with my outfit and go like full drama.
that is nice. I still didn't see this part when you did it before. I didn't
Yeah,
see that
it
part.
doesn't like to
I
stay
like
up,
that.
but I can go like this too. Channel David.
Also, yes, and also very good for like when you want to walk outside. Just kind of get over your
Oh
nose.
yeah,
So,
built-in mask.
yes, there you go. Strangely, which is also actually on point because since Moira is an actress, you got it from the costume designer. I actually got this top from a friend who was in the show. So we're
There you go.
Moira affiliated. Yeah, yeah. Um, so actually says Nick's Tina groaning sound. So let's start off actually talking about the origins of the show. Since it's our first episode, we should possibly talk about like how the show happened. Um, I'm sure that you have. Oh my goodness, I'm sure
Sorry,
that you
my
have.
cat is
I
trying to
know
log
that what I've read.
the computer over there. Hey, Gritty, stop it.
I want to see too. So
I do actually need to stop him.
I'm
Okay.
gonna let you stop him, and I'll just talk about the show. So the so from what I understand from all the things that I've read, let's first start off with saying that Schitt's Creek is my comfort show. Which is kind of like how this came to be. Is like I just when I'm stressed out, I watch Schitt's Creek, um, over and over and over again. And I don't have the world's best memory. Like if you ask me what I did yesterday, I'm like I probably was here because it's a pandemic. But other than that, I don't know. But when it comes to Schitt's Creek, because I've seen it so often, I actually remember things. Um, so from what I understand, don't yeah, I can't remember my life, but I remember Dan Levy's writing. Awesome. So from what I understand, Dan Levy had been out and about. He's the son of Eugene, who is like a comedy guy from SCTV, and he was doing a lot of hosting, like MTV Canada. He also apparently hosts the Great Canadian Bake Off and is
Oh
lovely.
yeah.
Yes, he's lovely. You can get it on YouTube. I'm not gonna say how I know. Anywho, um, so one day he's watching the Kardashians and thinking, oh, what happens if these people lose all their money? But I also read a story that at the same time, he was reading about Kim Basinger buying this town in Georgia. Had you heard about this part?
That I hadn't heard of.
So Kim Basinger in like I think 89, right around the time that she got together with Alec Baldwin, she bought this town not far from where she lived, Hazleton, Georgia. And it was a small she bought most of the town. And the idea was to like build it up so it would become this great tourist attraction. But it didn't quite come to fruition, one, because it takes a lot of money to make a town happen, and two, she went broke. She ended up like filing bankruptcy because she defaulted on a contract that she was supposed to do, and they sued her. So she bought the town for 20 million and ended up having to sell it for a million. So the residents of Basleton were apparently not thrilled for some reason. One of the headlines I read was like, "Oh, she's bankrupt but doing fine, and we are not." So, but if you go to their website now, they look great. Look, they're doing really well. At least
Good.
the pictures look good. Yes, they've got a great photographer. Um, so the combination of those came together to make Schitt's Creek.
Okay.
Apparently, though, if you just because you are Eugene Levy's child, does not mean that someone will just give you a show. And apparently, Eugene Levy also has like a really strong work ethic. So they sat down and they sketched out every character like hardcore before they presented it. So if you can break in at any time because I will
No,
talk.
I don't know all of this. I know some of it, but this is fascinating.
Okay, great. So to get people interested, they put together like this 15-minute pilot presentation. And I think we've got a picture of it somewhere. If you can show it. So it should be the second one, I think. And now they'd already asked Catherine O'Hara to be in it. So let me see if she can.
Okay, yeah, it's that.
Oh, there. Nope, not that one. Not that one. Keep going. That one's just Alexis looking amazing.
Oh, are we going for Sarah?
No, so there's Sarah was in the original one more possibly, maybe this will be it. Nope, that's Ronnie. Nope. We're just gonna go through all the pictures. Don't they look great? So there it is. This one. All right. So they'd asked Catherine O'Hara to do it. It was supposed. Oh, you went too far. But we saw it, so we know it's there. And she was supposed to be like a one-off thing that she was just gonna do that. In the picture that probably just went a little too fast, but in the picture, it looks like Mary Birdsong is playing Jocelyn, and for some reason, Martin Mull is there. I don't know what role Martin Mull is playing, but yeah. So this is like from the 15-minute pilot presentation that they had of Schitt's Creek, but it doesn't. Daniel Levy will not let it be shown. Apparently, there's still some pictures on his Instagram from 2013. I was not going that deep. That's a lot. That's a lot. That's not going through like 7, 8 years worth of pictures to get that. So this is what you're getting from someone else's Pinterest page. Thank you so much, person with Pinterest account. Anywho, so that's the first 15, and they shopped it around, but not everybody wanted a show called Schitt's Creek because you know Schitt's Creek. But yes, I know. Well, yes. So apparently, though, they they were every time someone said no, they just kept. They had to have the name. They wanted the name. They even brought out pages from a phone book to be like, "Schitt is a real name. It's not. We're not just trying to be dirty. Schitt is a real name." And finally, Pop took them on. So they slowly built their fan base. But this is the show that they built. And it's really exciting. So yeah, those are the basics that I have.
I do remember
Great.
reading once that a big way that they actually built their fan base was through the reaction gifs that are all over Twitter, by like totally flooding all of the GIF keyboards with various reactions from the show. They were able to get their name out there, which is fucking genius marketing. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I love their I've literally sent to my aunt and my uncle who are over 60. Congratulations on your enduring love. Like that just because it feels right. It feels right. So there's always an occasion to use a Schitt's Creek gift. So awesome. Thank you. So one of the things we're talking mostly about the opening, like the first season, which is very different than everything else, for obvious reasons. And I think this is an opinion, whereas most of this is an opinion. I don't know why I put a quote on that. I don't know, but
because it might be a controversial opinion.
Not even. I'm just this controversial opinion I have about storytelling. It's crazy. No, I think that they didn't know. Obviously, they didn't know they were going to get 6 seasons. But the way that they built it is very much like a story. Whereas some shows, they're going on and on and on. the first season is very much your exposition, and then everything else gets you all the way down to your denouement. So it actually pulls it together. Like it's really strong writing. I'm nerdy dramaturg, and it is really strong writing. I'm just like talking at you.
No, I mean, I love
uh,
I we should talk more later because like I could talk about dramaturgy forever and
um,
this
whoa!
this is like what I did in
Oh,
undergrad and what I thought about doing for grad school and ended up going a more academic route, but I still studied theater and yeah,
oh! So after 9 o'clock, when we send everybody else away, we can talk about it.
that's great.
So awesome. So one of the things I wanted to talk about today is like the things that they built into the show at the outset, even knowing that they weren't not knowing how far out they were going to go. There were some things that they built in, and it's interesting because sometimes when people build something into a show or into a story, they can write themselves into a corner and can't figure themselves out. In this place, not knowing how far they were going to go, they still were able to, like, once something was set, they very seldom changed it. It was exactly the world building on the show is fascinating and amazing, and everyone, people that you don't see, have full storylines that you hear about, which we may talk about next time. uh but one of the things that I looked at, that I really enjoyed, I definitely want to get to the wine and not the label. I
Mhm.
definitely want to get to that. But I think one of the first things that they do is they set up, just by color, that Moira and David are very much together,
Yeah.
and Johnny and Alexis are very much together, just only by color, without them even saying anything, which I
Yeah.
think is fascinating. Yeah. So, like, just the fact that when you look at Moira and David, always,
Always.
always black and white, always.
And it's not just the
If
color,
you
it's
look
also
at
the
Johnny,
structure, right?
yeah, it's very much the structure. It's very, like, very avant-garde, high fashion. And it's not to say that Johnny and Alexis are like rolling in like, messy clothing, but theirs are very often very loose. Even Johnny doesn't walk around with like a tie. It's very loose fitting and like comfortable. And they have more neutral colors. Alexis tends to flow towards like browns. Um, she's got like, there's one hat that she wears in the first season with those big, beautiful feathers on it when she goes to visit Mutt. And it's so gorgeous. But um sorry, get off on a tangent. Um anything that you'd like to bring up before I continue on with my diatribe. So
Well, I think it's interesting thinking about that. Like I do think a lot. I've thought about more about the David and Moira connection than the Alexis and Johnny connection, even though it's still kind of obvious just because it's more fun. Like the way that David and I mean just like you've got like the avant-garde and the wigs and all of that. Um, but it's really I don't know if this was what you were thinking about next, but it's
mm,
always been really interesting to me whenever I've recommended the show to people because I've been watching the show for a few years now. And like every time I'm like, you should watch the show with me, people will watch the first episode and they'll be like, it's about an intolerable rich white family. Like, what the fuck are you recommending to me?
yeah.
And I'm like, no, it's like the kindest, most wonderful show on television.
Yeah, yeah, like the first episode, really, if you don't get past the first episode, it just throws you off. Because they seem like they're awful, awful people. And but
It's
I think that go ahead. No, go
I
ahead.
was thinking it's a really good show to binge because of that. Because I don't want to do the like thing that people do with some comedy shows, like when people say, "Oh, you should watch Parks and Rec, but skip the first season until you like the characters." I would never do that for this show. You would miss so much.
Yes. Yes. Like things that they talk about in the first season are still there in the sixth season. And you don't know where they come from if you skip it. And also, once again, it's your exposition right at the top. You're missing everything that they're building it out for you, and they're letting you know what this world is right from the get-go. So um It's so at least I know who this is. Candace says, "It's so weird though. I felt like you could tell from the first episode that they weren't just cardboard cutouts." And I agree.
I
I
agree
do
too.
agree. Yeah.
I think that what I didn't know from the first episode is that they would also be so wonderful. Like she's saying, I have a high tolerance for intolerable characters. Like I also love like Succession, right? And I don't like any
Um,
of those characters.
no.
And I was ready for that show, for that kind of comedy, right? Like a show where I loved to hate all the
Yeah.
characters. And that's just not what it is at all.
No, they're so sweet and loving in their own it's like finding that like sweet and loving doesn't have to always be saccharine, you know? Um, yes, I've never thought about it before, but DNM are always in black and white, catastrophizing people. Yes, definitely. Whereas Johnny and Alexis are very skilled at navigating difficult situations. That is true. They're very similar, and they often pair up when and it's actually one of the first things that happens very much in the first season is when Moira and Alexis try to come together. It's often like a mess, which is
So
funny.
where Alexis gets, this isn't the first season, but the episode where Alexis has the flu or gets,
Whoa!
and Moira tries to take care of her.
It's just like when you got mono. It's like, exactly. Which is funny because they talk about like her not having motherly instincts, but she has great motherly instincts when it comes to David. She knows
Right.
exactly how to talk to her son.
So I'm thinking about, so I got a friend, I do this gift exchange every year with some roller derby officials, and someone gave me a bunch of Schitt's Creek things and a bunch of cat toys. So this is right. But I think about like this is the end of the first season, right?
This is actually the beginning of the second.
So
So
the end of the first season, David runs away, and the beginning of the second season, they find him like this.
the picture that I picked of him is him in the field in that outfit. Love it so
You're talking about payoff seasons later. Direct correlation to the first time when The Crows Have Eyes gets canceled and Moira is hiding in the closet. And this is exactly what she's doing. This is
Oh,
dealing with the worst things they can imagine happening to them.
they've run away. That's awesome. Look at that. Oh, no.
And also, he looks like her costume.
It does. I also just kind of want that outfit.
I know.
All right. So one of the big things that also comes up because I'm saving one of the things I don't like. I'm saving one of those. But Alexis's reliance on men. It's like one of the first things that comes up, like when she's like, "Oh, I'm getting out of here." So the first thing she wants to do is call Stavros to pick her up and save
Yep.
her. So, which I find like that's one of the things that's really great about the writing is everyone has an arc. And we're not going to talk about the sixth season. We're not going to talk about it. I just keep it in the back of my head. But the fact that her arc is so strong and Annie Murphy is wonderful.
Well, it was
Mhm.
also that because of that arc, they've talked about how this is talking about the end of the sixth season a little bit, but they
Mhm.
planned to end. They originally had thought this way the story was going to end was in a double wedding. And they
Oh,
ended up not doing that in part because of the, like, I mean, obviously, like, David's relationship is like so incredible and beautiful, but
yes.
also because it was better for Alexis's character for her to not have that.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just so cool. Like, it's so cool that they made that decision.
I think it's beautiful, like to that a woman does not need to be like, this is the end of my story. I got married. Like, and that it's that she went off like, yeah, she went off to do her job. And maybe one day they come back together, maybe they don't.
Right.
But she had a job to do and she had something she had goals that she wanted to achieve and then
But it was also for both of them. Like, they both together said, we are living out our dreams and we love each other. Therefore, we cannot ask the other person to give up their dream.
that is actually love.
And
That's what love is.
it's just,
Yes. Beautiful.
and meanwhile, David is discovering, oh, maybe I want something different than I originally thought. maybe like something smaller is
Mm,
actually what will bring me happiness. So Alexis is honestly like her dreams are expanding and David's are simplifying.
which is beautiful and also very different from how they started.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you looked at the schedule, but I put David and Patrick as their own day, the Thursday before the Valentine's Day
You know, I
because
can't talk about David and Patrick too much. I didn't want to like I could talk about
I
David and Patrick forever.
I know I'm like this is my David and Patrick box. So that's what it is. So let's see. I love the scene where Moira is like, I had lunch with Alexis, and David is like, that was me. And she's like, we talked about menopause and pantyhose, and he says again. Which I love. I love. So sorry. It always makes me laugh. Um one of the things that so I noticed that so the family comes in and over the first season they start to make themselves comfortable in Schitt's Creek. So
Right.
apparently they're only there for like 3 years. I thought it was longer, but it's really just 3 years. But the only person who has a really hard time finding themselves is Johnny.
Yeah.
Everyone else has to like which is really like rare in stories that the older white man can't find his way. And he spends a long time trying to find his way. Like it's a joke to the other characters that he can't find his way. Um, I thought that was beautiful. Oh.
Also, I mean, also parallel to what we were talking about with like this really like feminist follow your dreams thing, for the most his dreams can be molded to fit with where Moira's are going. And that
Yeah.
Moira's are what his priority are. Because what he wants to do, it's like, okay, it would be better if I were in New York, but it's functional in LA. And she wants to be in LA. So we're going to LA.
Yes. Whereas most stories would be like, well, you're the woman and you should be like, you should be
Or like
very
we're gonna have to do some weird like bi-coastal parent trap thing or
yes. I I think that there is some it's great though because he also initially set up as the one exactly he is set up as the one that is sort of together. Like the family happens because he made money.
right.
Like Moira gets to be yeah, she, look, she was a regular on a TV show, but let's just be honest, she wasn't making a ton of money afterwards. He is carrying them like
Not
paying
making
for
a ton of money going to soap opera conventions.
well, she wasn't at the soap opera conventions for a while.
Oh, right. And
Exactly.
this is
She
what the feet pics happen.
exactly. Oh, no pee pics. No pee pics. Well, maybe extra. So I also love that Johnny is throughout the softest heart he is, pretty much willing to do anything because he loves them. I think I think it's not as evident at the top that they actually love each other as a family. It just becomes more clear as it goes. And they don't spend time together, but I do think that they actually build in that longing to want, especially within David, of wanting to be close to one another, but not really knowing how at the
And,
beginning.
and also this intense fear of if someone leaves, it'll go back to the way it was before. Because there are opportunities for all of them at different points to leave.
Yes. And also the kids are not kids.
No,
Like, why are you here? You could go off and figure out how to live your own life. Like David, by the time this over, I think is like 32. So and Alexis is like 28. It's like, but you don't have to live here. There are other options. But they choose it. They choose to be in this
right.
hotel with their
Like I
family.
know like Stavros didn't come save Alexis, but she could have I'm sure she has like a million ex-boyfriends who would
I'm sure Jared Leto would have like come in a minute, just Jay-Z Jose would have been right there. I mean, Diplo still sends her dick pics, so it's great. So
can we talk about Stevie and her
yeah,
relationship with the family?
yes, yes, we can. Um, cool.
So, I mean, obviously you have the start of it being this like kind of adversarial relationship where she starts a friendship, eventually like a mocking friendship with David, right?
Yes. Which is
And
how all good friendships start, just FYI.
right.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, totally. But like she's very much this person who is like she starts out as the only inherently likable character because she's just calling every bit of shit out that she can.
Yeah.
And you're like, "Oh, so this character sees the ridiculousness and she's depressed. I can relate." Um but as she grows, she is truly a member of the family.
And
And like even to the point where she's the kid who Johnny passes his legacy on to.
yeah.
His other kids are too different. They don't want to go into the family business, but Stevie's the one he can mentor.
Yeah. Well, I also think it's interesting that they never so apparently that there's a little thing that Twyla says about about how her family, about
Mhm.
her dad being a roadie with Fleetwood Mac. Apparently that was supposed to be how Stevie got her name. We never we never hear about her parents. And it doesn't sound like they're dead. You don't hear about her parents, and there are a couple of cousins. She's tangentially related to Bob.
Right. And there's
Um,
an aunt that she loves.
yes, and her grandmother. Yeah.
Right, but that one family member is the only person she ever talks about having a good relationship with,
Yeah.
and then you never get to see their relationship. That family member dies, like, and Stevie just goes into a tailspin, worried that she's going to end up a lonely old woman in Schitt's Creek running a motel.
I do love when he pulls out the picture and he's like, "When did you take this?" And she's like, "That's not me." Like, oh. Oh, oh yes. This is so I'm just so glad that they didn't do the typical thing where there was some weird ongoing sexual tension between David
Yeah.
and Stevie. I'm glad they just let them be friends and not let any sort of romantic awkward plot line drag on between the two of them. Which is true, but I did enjoy their awkward sexual tension. I think it's in the second season that they meet Jake. So um
I also did kind of enjoy that they were like, I mean, we're in this weird situation. We might as well try it. And then they hook up and they're like, that
yeah.
didn't suck, but it didn't make any sense either.
Yes. Instead of like being married to this idea of like, well, we did it and now we got to keep doing it. It
No,
didn't
they
work.
tried for like a day. They're like, I don't know what to do about it. And then they're like, no, wait. We both thought that was dumb.
This is not well, actually, that's not quite true because at the end of the first season, she still has feelings for him.
That's true.
Yeah.
That is true. But then they hook up again and then she gets over it.
Yeah. I think it's
It's
more
like
that,
there's a weird thing in the bar,
oh,
right?
yes, when they kiss and she's like, no, 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 no. But 'cause she's the only one that's actually going, like, she's actively looking for him at the end of season one.
Right.
And yeah. So, oh, Stevie's sexuality is a great plot point. Stevie does not fucking like she's like, this is what I'm going for. I don't have to be in a relationship. I just want to have sex, and that is it. You know, the himbo that I'm sleeping with, that's his job. That's it. So
Well, have you read anything Emily Hampshire's said about the role?
no, what did she say?
So, I mean, this is going back to the David quote. I don't know if we want to like go there quite yet.
We can go there.
Go
We're
there?
doing
Okay.
it. Yeah,
So someone gave me this.
yeah. I like the wine, not the label. Awesome.
So this is so right before when David and Stevie hook up the first time, Stevie goes to David and is like, I'm really confused. I thought you only liked dudes. And they're in a wine shop. And the way David explains being pansexual, and they like actively are using the term pansexual, not bisexual,
Hmm.
is that he likes the wine and not the label. And it's just like, I mean, there's a whole speech, but like he's just like, no, I like people. I like the person. I fall in love with a person. And Emily Hampshire has since come out as pansexual and
Mm.
has talked about how that scene, like that development of the character, was what helped her realize that that was like the best way for her to describe her sexuality.
Oh,
And I just think it's really beautiful.
it is really beautiful. It's gorgeous. But I think it's interesting that they set that up. That's a first season thing. They set it up and then they don't spend time talking about it anymore. That's
No,
it.
because
This
it's
is the
not,
thesis.
well, it's because it's not important. It's like what's important are the relationships that they have with people, not the label of the relationships that they have with people. And like uh, that's that's honestly like revolutionary for television. Like as someone who like came out really young and spent all of high school like trying to find all of the queer TV and movies that I could find, and a lot of it was like sneaking things out of the library and down like weird downloads of episodes of TV and finding, like whatever was on in the mid 2000s.
Mm.
And nothing, everything was heavy, like everything. It was so heavy because everything was like a big deal, coming out plot, emotional, all of these things. And Schitt's Creek is just like, yeah, I mean, like we live in the real world, so it still has to be addressed, but it's fine.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. We just have to have a conversation.
And then it's done. We're done. We're done here. It's there's a so I watched Best Wishes, Warmest Regards, the little documentary that came on afterwards.
I've been meaning to watch it, but I'm worried I'm going to cry a lot because everyone said it made them cry.
It made me cry, and I've watched it twice now. It made me cry both times. But one of the things that Emily Hampshire says is that she does talk about that scene, about like and about how important it is. She's like, at first I thought, you have to be able to say to have big moments like that, to address, these things. But then you end up associating like queerness with struggle, and sadness. Whereas like the thing can just happen and you can just show people that it's fine. It's fine. And it literally is fine. The only time I think after the first season, the only time they actually discuss it about coming out is when Patrick comes out with to his family.
And that's like a delightfully sweet and funny episode. Like you've got Patrick freaking out in one corner, David accidentally outing him,
Yes.
and everyone being like, "Oh, that's fine."
Yeah. Well, we just wanted to make sure you were talking to us. That's it. You wanted to make sure you're comfortable. Not
And
being too adamant about it being fine, but especially about not having the small. So the small town folks were not weird about it.
right.
Also, Ronnie is a lesbian.
Hmm.
And it's not like bang, bang, bang. Look, she's a lesbian. She's just like, I had a date with a woman. Her name was I had a date. Her name was it Amanda? I think is that one. There's not a big to do, which
And
honestly, in most places it isn't. So
right, and like the way that it would happen, if any of the characters, like any of the Roses, tried to pry because they're all nosy ass people.
yes.
You'd just be like, none of your fucking business. I'm Ronnie. I don't need
Yeah.
to do anything.
I don't answer to you. Thank you. Oh, her rivalry with Patrick still makes me laugh. So I love it because everyone loves Patrick, and she's just like, no. So much. But Ronnie is goals. Ronnie is goals. There's that moment though when Roland and Johnny are talking, and Johnny's like, my son is pansexual, and it's not that he thinks there's anything wrong with it. It's just that he worries about his child, which I
Yeah,
think is valid and that's beautiful. Not that there's something wrong, but that he just wants to make sure that his child is happy and taken care of.
right.
It's
What a good dad.
beautiful. Johnny Rose, best dad. I'd like to think that he's just written like word for word, like Eugene Levy is just like amazing, and they just sit it there and just like write everything that he says.
I mean,
That's what I like.
honestly, probably.
Probably. He looks like a great dad. I don't know if he maybe just acting. I don't know.
Can we talk about how they also just like Sarah Levy is just in the show?
She's just there. So in the 15-minute, apparently she was in the 15-minute pilot, but very different. There's a picture of her with like big glasses and like the hair pulled back, and she was supposed to be nerdy, and she walks up to the town, and it's very different now. But it is interesting because Dan Levy talks about how hard it was to find someone to play Alexis, but he didn't. But his sister wasn't the right one, which is kind of interesting.
It-
Which is great that you know it, but still, so yes. Oh.
I mean, honestly, like Twyla is a beautiful character. And like, but yeah, can you, I mean, obviously, like, it's hard to imagine things go differently in the way TV shows work, but like, can you imagine anyone other than Annie Murphy playing that character?
No. So, oh, that's what I knew. So apparently in the pilot, the 15-minute pilot, Abby Elliott plays that character.
Okay.
So is it Abby? Yeah, Abby Elliott, who's Chris Elliott's daughter. She was on SNL for like a season or something. And she's okay. She ain't no Annie Murphy though. So just saying.
This, Alexis would be, I think Moira and David have caricature moments, but they're so like weird diva-like moments that it doesn't quite matter. And it would be so easy for Alexis to be an intolerable stereotype.
Yes.
So easy. And it's not just like, yes, the writing is smart, and yes, the writing isn't doing that, but
Mhm.
like, that takes so much skill to take this like stereotype and give it so much like dynamic depth.
She's amazing. She's absolutely amazing. There's oh, there's when her friends come to visit, it's a little later on. It's a little later on when her they come to like when she's already started her Alexis Rose business. When they
Mhm.
come to visit, and you get a sense of what she was like. Um, the girl who's always just like, oh, what is her name? Albany.
Yeah,
Albany's always bugging me. You know, it's like that's a sense of like what she was like and the people that she hung out with. But she's not like there's something deeper inside her, and then she changes and grows she grows something inside of herself throughout this story. And it's
that episode is that episode is so beautiful where she's like, "Oh wait, I'm a better person than I thought I was." Like it's not just that cuz at that point we can all see her growth, but she
yeah,
doesn't know it yet. And then when she encounters these mean girls from her past,
these empty women.
she realizes, well, it's not just that they're empty, it's that they're mean.
Yeah.
Like she doesn't seem to like she can because she can fall back into the empty, if I spend money and do all this, I'm gonna have fun. So that's okay. But as soon as she sees this like backstabbing, talk shit behind each other's backs, mean girl thing, she's like, no, can't do that anymore. That's not my life. That's not what I want to be. That's not what I want to do. I have better things in my life.
You know, I think that her friendship with Twyla is one of the sweetest things because it comes so it seems really organic. That she just happens to be there, and then they just become friends, and it's just a thing that no one had to talk about it. It's just accepted. They are friends.
Well, she's smart, but she doesn't want to think too hard about Twyla.
Mm,
Yeah, Twyla's totally smart. Twyla is like it's not just that she doesn't want to think too hard, it's that she likes her life. She's very satisfied with everything, and she's just going to keep doing it because she likes it.
I get the sense that like part of the reason that she and Mutt would be together is that she's someone who just stays in the moment.
Yeah.
That she's constantly in the moment. Even when she's upset, she's clearly upset about Alexis and Mutt getting together. That she still stays in the moment and still sticks with her feelings. She
Right.
doesn't like get nasty and like strike out. So I do love though when she's like, this is how my stepdad taught me how to ride a bike. You just and you just get out of here. You get out of here. which is clearly also like pent up feelings that she has about what's happening because she's yelling at Alexis, but it's so funny. Okay, definitely, Mutt is definitely a moment. I picked the picture of Mutt because I was objectifying him.
Yeah.
That's what I did. So, yeah, you can. This one's easily found. Thank you. So here's a lovely picture of Tim. I think it's Roseanne is how he says it. Um, can we talk about what we find out? What would you like to which thing about Mutt would we
Which
like to
about revelation about Mutt or a revelation about Twyla?
Yeah. Oh, we cannot talk about that yet. That is a season 6 thing. It's
Yeah,
a
let's save the Twyla revelation for the end.
exactly. Right now, we can talk about the fact that the place that I found this was what is his name? It's like R. Eric Thomas, I think, posted this picture on his Twitter. And thank you, Ron's son. Posted this picture on his Twitter account some time ago and was like, "Mud has the flattest abs." Exact. That's actually so. He is amazing on Winona Earp. I've not seen it, but that's why he left. Is he ended up getting that job on Earp and not Earp. It's gonna. I'm just gonna let it go because this will go on for a while. But he didn't leave because there was any problems on it. But I really enjoyed him there. Like there was a different energy to him and the things that he did to with Alexis and like did for Alexis, like when they break up, even though we're not supposed to be talking about that because it's the wrong season. But when she says that he changed her, I think this is like it's like one of those first steps for her, you know?
Well, if we
Um,
want to talk about the first season revelation with Mutt, the fact that he is a Schitt.
Mutt's a shit. He's given up the fancy lifestyle of mayoral's, son to live in a barn. Which honestly, his barn is nicer than their house. I'm just gonna put it
His
out
barn
there.
is so much nicer than their house. I don't know why that's never addressed.
I know. This is like when Jocelyn's like, I decorated it myself. I was like, oh, honey. So, mm. But
I'm glad Mutt didn't get your taste in furniture.
exactly, he went his own way. Since we are talking about the shits, so, I will say that Chris Chris Elliott is actually the thing that was Chris Elliott is a special. He's an acquired taste.
Yeah.
Yes, he's an acquired taste. Um, yes. I remember him from many other things, and he was acquired then. But there's something about him in the first episode, because in the first episode he steals their doors, and
Yeah.
he's mean and nasty. And there are times they soften him throughout, but there are times that Roland is straight up mean,
Mm-hmm.
which is interesting. So I think he was the only wrong note for me, but I think that's also just because I have a bias against him.
They definitely tone him down a little bit
Mm.
in later seasons. Both tone him down and like use him less, which was necessary. Yeah, I've never been able to acquire that taste, but I found him less horrible than I usually find him. Honestly, yes, that's exactly the best way to describe Roland Schitt. It's like you have to say the whole name.
I do.
That by the end of the series, I don't hate him.
Yeah. His I know we're not talking about season 6 and we totally told Ashley she couldn't talk about it, but his last moment in the boardroom was actually quite nice. Um but I do love that the first thing is when Stevie talks about telling Johnny how to find his house is you're looking for the truck with the mud flaps with the naked Helen Mirren on them. And I feel like that right there tells you so much about Roland Schitt. It's like it's such an encapsulation of like, yeah, that makes sense. So, that's it right there.
Naked.
But Jocelyn is not in the first episode. She doesn't come, I think, until the second.
Mm-hmm.
So and I think Jocelyn herself helps to like balance him out.
Well,
Oh,
'cause-
there.
Well, because Jocelyn, like, I don't love watching her and Roland interact, but I like Jocelyn. And I
Yes.
really like Jocelyn and Moira's friendship.
Yes. It's really beautiful. And she's very layered.
Yeah.
Jocelyn's really layered and she's smart, but she's not someone to like it's not underhanded or sneaky. It's just like this way that comes on where you don't quite see you don't see the strings of it. You
Yeah.
don't see what she's doing. Um,
And you can tell that she's used to being underestimated
mhm.
and that she made some decision that instead of being bothered by it, she was just going to quietly prove people wrong.
Yeah. What is it? Jocelyn has a very Twilight-like quality. I struggle with their relationship because I you know what? So I would say that I struggle with their relationship because of my dislike of Roland too. But let's just be honest. There is always a friend who has like a spouse or significant other where you're just like, why? Why is
And
this
you're always
happening?
so into that significant other. Like
Yes.
like I'm very happy for Jocelyn that her and Roland all these years later want to like fuck like bunnies. You know, like, but also I don't want to hear about it because I really don't like Roland. And like it's like this weird balance of being like I am like Jocelyn does not struggle with their relationship. Like it is cool to see someone who's like honestly so genuinely happy in the relationship. It's just that like I don't like Roland.
As much as I don't love Chris Elliott, Roland is in his gross way very loving toward his wife. He is. He loves his wife. Though he does there is that moment where he flirts with Marnie in the unemployment office. But it's not because he doesn't love his wife, it's just that he and Marnie had a thing. Though honestly, I'm looking at Marnie and I was just like, was it a sad time in your life? What happened? So uh, yes, she does not care. There's always someone like that. You know that there's always that friend. You're just like, all right, I guess. So also awesome. Lee redeemed himself or not redeemed himself, but he really shines towards the end of season 6. Thank you for not saying anymore. Thank you. Uh, thank you. People are
I mean,
respecting the rules.
not so much a spoiler as leaving content for the season 6 episode.
Exactly. When we actually get there and everyone brings their own tissues because ain't nobody sharing. It's COVID. So
God, I could if I like were in like the right, probably not great headspace, I could probably cry just thinking about the 6th season.
God, it's so beautiful. I think it's so I think nope, we did that. We did it. I think we did it. Oh, I think we did it. We think we did most I had a list because I'm type A.
Mhm.
I try and make sure no one sees the list, but then I just told everybody about the list, so now they know. But just to make sure that we hit all the points. And
Okay.
we hit the points. So now it's a free for all. I was gonna throw my glass on the floor, but I don't want to clean it up afterwards. So
Oh, so I do want to say that I got a tall boy of blood orange cider because I wanted, instead of drinking wine, to drink something that I could tell you was fruit wine. And they did not have any like raspberry lambic, which was what I was like really hoping for because that shit looks weird. Uh, but here's my fruit wine.
your Herbertlinger's fruit wine. Fruit wine.
That episode where Moira and David just get trashed on bad alcohol.
I just I'm just like, why would you even invite them back? I don't understand. Oh, I know we didn't talk about Bob at all.
Oh, Bob.
We can talk about Bob for 5. We can talk about Bob for 5.
Okay.
We don't need more than 5. Sorry, that's horrible.
No,
I
I think in general, like the side characters, probably with only with the exception of Roland, all have their really like lovable qualities, even though they don't actually, most of their story, like you were saying earlier, happens off screen.
yeah. Though I do love his jog. Like Bob has a very like that his little jog whenever he comes over, his little bouncy jog to wherever he's gonna go. Um, and he actually, because Gwen is in the first season, but
Mhm.
she doesn't speak, but he defines everything that is about Gwen, about how she lives her life. And I'm only bringing this up because I actually want to talk about Gwen, Dick Simpson,
Mhm.
and Carl for the next one. I think Ray is also the jog. Our coach. I think Ray is also in my list of pictures. Um, which is Ray also has a story. He talks about like where he comes from and the fact that he has the accent. And I'm gonna say his name wrong, but Rizwan Blanti, I think is how he says it. Is that his name? Talks about how, because he himself has, he has a Canadian accent because he's Canadian.
Right.
He just recently talked about he made the choice for Ray to have a more of an Indian accent.
Right.
And then there's a point where Moira asks him where he's from. Like basically he's like, "Oh, from where you're from." And he's like, "Yes, Winnipeg." Just like he's from Winnipeg. But he said he made the choice for the accent, but he did feel like the characters of color could probably have benefited from more backstory. And as much as I love the show and I love it dearly, one of the things that really stood out in that final documentary is basically how white everyone was backstage and in front. Um, and I think that Ronnie gets some building out, but not as much not as much as like Dick Simpson. If you really want to get down, and we never see Dick Simpson. Um, Ray has 50 million jobs, and clearly, he's doing all the things, but there is even so you say at least on screen, but when you watch the doc, even the people back behind the camera, and I don't think it was a thing that they did like, it wasn't clearly not a conscious thing that they clearly were trying to they reflect a small town life that is very honest in that sometimes in small towns you only have like a couple of people of
Yeah.
color. But
Ray kind of seems like a counterpoint to like the problem with Apu and like nothing else.
yeah.
He exists as a positive representation of an Indian man who has an accent and otherwise does not fall into the stereotypes that you're expecting him to fall in. And that's all his character is.
Yeah. Like, I think his mom lives with him, and that's basically it. That's all we really know, and he's got a ton of different, jobs. Um, I am gonna say I don't remember Taylor from Gilmore Girls all that well, sorry. Um,
Taylor. Oh, Taylor. Um, no. Uh,
he's just he's their catch-all. Like, and because it is a small town, which is also interesting, is that they have a police force that you never see. Um, I'm trying to fit a whole lot in here. We can talk about that later. But he is kind of Ray's kind of their catch-all. Oh, we need someone that takes your wedding photos. There he is. Oh, we need an agent. Well, Ray is the only real estate agent. Ray
right.
was on the council.
Patrick. Patrick needs a room.
Exactly. Patrick needs a room. There's Ray. When he left council, it was on his podcast. I don't know why you didn't catch that. Um, so Ted was not a person of color because because Dustin Mulligan is actually a friend of Dan Levy's. Apparently, he had to audition. He had to
Mhm.
audition for the role, but it is what happens. Um, Possibly he's kind of there, and I understand the actor's feeling behind it. So yeah, so I think it's interesting though that it's easy for Levy to imagine and insist on an approach to sexuality that makes the effort to ignore the normal modes of representation, but not that for race. I think that's common. It's in terms of looking at what are things that are issues to you. So if it were Karen Robinson, the woman who plays Ronnie, then maybe I don't know um, Karen Robinson's or like, who I don't know who she sleeps with. None of my business. But if she were, let's just say Ronnie, because I don't know Karen Robinson. But if Ronnie were running the show, then Ronnie would probably have a town that reflected not only color but race and women. It's just it's not exactly it's not bad. It's just interesting. You do need more intersectional friends. All right, so we're 4 minutes out, and my type A is keeping us to schedule.
Okay.
Yes. So I will ask you, Staci, because I gave you this question earlier. And so you've had time to think about it, but I will also ask the people in the comment section, the chats, if you will. I will because that's what it's called. It's called chat. What would you order today from the Cafe Tropical? What are you feeling today?
So I am honestly, and maybe this is because I already had dinner, but I am morbidly curious about these smoothies.
A Meadow Harvest smoothie. Would you like a Meadow Harvest smoothie?
How can you make a smoothie that bad? Like, fuck up a smoothie that much. I want to know. But also, like, unintentionally fuck up a smoothie that bad. Like, I'm not talking like some like Survivor taste challenge fear factor bullshit. I'm talking about like Twyla being like, I made you something. Isn't it great?
I feel like she probably did not taste. She might have tasted it. I'm not gonna lie. She might have actually tasted it.
Yeah, egg salad on a croissant, melted Swiss cheese on top.
Ooh,
Yeah,
I'm
I mean, always. Honestly, the answer for my like cafe order is probably always going to include crispy home fries and some kind of cheese.
Well, from what I understand, exactly, the mozzarella sticks, they lose their shape as soon as they leave the kitchen. That's what I understand. And I will go with the brisket. I'm just gonna go with the brisket. Yes,
I'm curious. Like, do you think they make a good brisket?
No, I think it's awful. I think everything on that menu is probably just terrible. Some bacon. Candace has bacon. So I feel like everybody's regular in the town though. Like yeah, and everything's moving around. Nobody's constipated. So
Dad is looking at me like, what are you laughing at? What is so funny?
Constipation. Always funny. And diarrhea. All right, so then I've hit all the points. Schitt's Creek, Rolling and Schitt.
I see what you did there.
See, exactly. It's genius. Oh yeah, it's probably. Well, Oh, it's good. Okay to fade out. Thank you. I will. So it's it's probably awful.
I don't know. I feel like they're probably not that expensive. Like, I can't imagine that this cafe is that expensive.
Because the roses run up a tab to I think it's about $400. But
that's after like 2 years of not paying anything, right?
Yeah. Yes. So we are at 8:59, unless there's something burning in the chat. I think I will call this a success, Staci. I'm gonna call it
so. This was
fun. Next time I'll bring my fruit wine instead of my water. So musky plum. Maybe a nice raspberry pear.
Single can of flavored cider. I'm classy like that.
So I guess we'll be back in what, 2 weeks? 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I keep looking this way because like the picture on the thing is here, but I actually should be looking this way instead of looking off that way because I am a professional. So, but we'll be back in 2 weeks to talk about Dick Sinson, Gwen, and Carl. So if you want to go looking through, I'm giving you a good reason to go look through all the other episodes of Schitt's Creek.
I mean, I think you could probably binge the entire show in 2 weeks if you've seen it already.
There is a woman who says that she binge watches it every Sunday with her family. You got time.
Whoa. That is dedication.
This is dedication. I'm also really concerned about what's going on in her family, but that's beside the point. All right. So we'll see you in 2 weeks. Thanks so much.
Bye, everyone.